there, this is Josee from stampingjo.com and welcome to week 4 of the December Stamping 411. So this one was super fun to make. It's a little bit different than the ones that I've made before because it has the little flowers on there and some really fun products and one product that is a sneak peek of what is coming out in January in the Occasions catalog. So let's get started. So I'm only using 2 colors of cardstock, so the Rich Razzleberry and the Pear Pizzazz, and everything else is on Whisper White. So the Rich Razzleberry was cut 5.5 by 8.5, and then the Pear Pizzazz is 3/4 of an inch by 3 3/4. We need 2 pieces of Whisper White that are 4 by 5 1/4. Another piece here, which is 2 3/4 by 4. And then a scrap paper that really only needs to be about 1 3/4 by just under 4 is fine, but I just used a scrap paper. So as always, I'm just going to fold my cardstock using my bone folder. If you are a card maker and you do not have a bone folder, what are you waiting for? These things are fantastic and they make it so easy to fold your card. We have our first piece of Whisper White is going to go on the outside of our card, and I'm going to use one of my favorite embossing folders. This is our subtle embossing folder, and it's actually 6 by 6, so it's a little bit wider than the most of them, and it's thicker. So I don't know if you can tell how thick that is, but it's pretty thick, and it literally just has this pattern that makes a texture. Can you see that? Onto the cardstock. And when I want something just to be, you know, not too overstated and will go with anything really, I like to use this one. So to run it through the Big Shot, you actually have to make your sandwich a little bit thinner than normal. So normally I would use 2 of these acrylic plates with the Big Shot platform. But for this one, because it's so thick, really you need 1 acrylic plate on your Big Shot platform and then just the embossing folder to run it through. Once you have that done, you can see how beautiful this texture is. So we're just going to adhere that to our back card, and you can use some snail for that. So the next product I'm going to show you is one that I am super excited about. This is coming out in the Occasions catalog, which will be available beginning of January. If you have shopped from me in the last 6 to 8 months, you will be getting that catalog in the mail, if not already, but very soon. And you're going to see that we now have these rectangle stitched framelets, and they are awesome. So I used 2 of them on the card that I'm showing you today. So one of them is 1.5 by 3 inches, and the other one is 2 by 3 1/4. So for one of them, so the bigger one, I actually want a piece of cardstock that's measured, which is 2 3/4 by 4, and then I'm going to center that. And then for the other one, it doesn't really matter if it's centered or not, though you could have it so that you could reuse the other part. So when you run them through the Big Shot, what you end up with is these 2 pieces for the larger one. So see how like I can use this on a different card. So I'm going to put that in, kind of save it so that I can reuse it. Then the smaller one, I really only needed this one, and I could have cut this piece, you know, a different size so that I could reuse this piece as well. I just didn't end up doing that. So these are the 2 pieces that you need. And on the smaller piece, we're going to use Pear Pizzazz ink with the stems that come in the stamp set. And we're going to do that near the bottom, like that. And then we're going to do the flowers. So with the flowers, I just have a scrap paper here. I want to do 3 of them. So I'm using my Rich Razzleberry ink, and I found the easiest way to do this is to stamp the line art part of it first. So you want 3 of those. And then once you're done that, we're going to do the actual middle part. Now for this, I actually want one that is just stamped off one time, but see how you can actually see right through so you can line it up nicely? And then I want the other ones, the other 2 of them, where it's stamped off twice. So 1, 2, and then onto here. So for the flowers, there is some fussy cutting. So I actually used my paper snips. I will just show you one tip that I find really helpful when I'm cutting. So what you're going to do, first of all, scissors do matter. So these paper snips are fantastic for cutting, and they get into all these small areas. So if you don't find that you have scissors at home that work nicely and you do want to do some stamps that have cutting like this, I would really recommend these paper snips. But the best way to do it is keep your scissors basically in place and move your paper. Now I like to have it so that there's a little bit of white showing on the outside of my image. If you want, you could cut right up to that rich raspberry background, but I prefer it to have some white edging to it. So move your paper, don't move your scissors as much. So to adhere the flowers, I want 2 of them flat to the paper. So I just kind of eyeball it like this, and I want this side of the flower to have snail on it. So about there. And then I want this side for the second one. And for the third one, I want a dimensional on the back. And we're going to put that about here. So sometimes I kind of reposition based on where they end up. So hold on here. I'm just going to reposition that one just to be a little bit more out. So for our cardstock here, I'm going to take my paper snips and just cut off a couple of ends so that they're kind of in a little triangle out of there, and then do the other side. And once that's cut, I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive here because I'm going to loop that through my frame. So this part is going to go behind, and then this part is going to go in front. So like that. So you can actually just pull that up, put some adhesive behind where it's going to be, like that. Once that's done, we can actually adhere that to our card. Just make sure you have lots of adhesive so it doesn't come off. Next, I'm going to take this layer here, and I want to add that one with dimensionals. And I found that 5 works best for this because you want all the corners and the middle to stay up and not get flattened. So we're going to take all of those off and put them there. Can you believe that it is December 21st and it is 4 days till Christmas? That's crazy. Crazy. I hope you're ready. I'm just about there. I have a little bit of wrapping to do, but I always do. I vow to not do any wrapping on Christmas Eve every year. For some reason, it doesn't seem to happen that way, but I am going to try my best this year because I love Christmas Eve. It is my favorite time. We usually open up our Christmas PJs and get nice and cozy on the couch and watch a Christmas movie, normally Elf, but so I hope you're organized too and not having to do too many last minute preparations. Okay, so next we are going to stamp our leaves. So again, we're going to do the outline of our leaves first, and we want 2 of those. And then you're going to do the actual other part. We're going to stamp off and then put it on there. So I used my paper snips to cut out my leaves. Now when you cut out your leaves, leave a little bit more of the white than you would normally because it makes it easier to tie with the linen thread on there. So we're going to take some of this linen thread And I want my leaves to kind of overlap like this. So I'm just going to take a little bit of adhesive just to make it easier here. And just glue that on like that. And then I'm going to take, next part I found to make it a little easier is I took some snail. You could take a glue dot if you want, but this was handy. Put it on the back where the tails are of my leaves so that I can kind of glue down the actual ribbon and a little bit of the leaves. Just makes it easier to tie. So I'm going to do a double knot. And then I'm just going to tie a little bow. Like this. I always find my bows look so big until I start to pull them together here. So tighten, pull a little bit because we just want a little bow like that. Wow, this one turned out a lot better than my first one. All right, I love when on the video it turns out better. So now we're going to pull this back in and we're going to add a little bit more adhesive. And we're going to place that about here. All right, so now for the remainder of the card, we're going to bring in our rhinestones. And I just added 3 of them. These are the medium-sized ones. You can use the big, the little, whatever you like. But rhinestones are always a fun little finishing touch to a card. There you go. Now, unlike most of my cards, this one doesn't have a greeting on the outside. I just couldn't figure out a way to make it fit and still look the way that I wanted it. So I'm going to take my other piece of Whisper White and I'm going to stamp my thank you in the middle of it. And this is going to go on the inside of my card. So stamp. And then I'm going to take back my Rich Razzleberry and I'm going to stamp a flower like that. And then take this part. I'm going to stamp off a couple of times. And then just put it like that so that my card is a little bit more matching and it has a really nice greeting on it, but on the inside this time. So we're going to adhere that right in there. And lastly, I'm just going to trim a little bit of that white off. So now that I have my ribbon, I can trim that off to tidy it up a little bit. There we go. So I hope you enjoyed this card. This is our last one for December. And I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays, and I will see you back on the blog very soon. Have a great day. Bye.